Our journey begins. It's day 11, June 11, 2024. And today we're going to be continuing our discussions and talking about the self-organizing principles of a movement. And this is in relation to the last 2 days. So day 9, we created this, going over how any one single person can make a difference. And this is an answer to not just trying to make it so that one person can make some special difference, but we're really thinking through if any one person can make a difference, then we're in a good spot, because then we can if just a couple people work together to make a difference, we could be in a good spot. And then day 10, we went through what is the movement force. We kind of tried to outline what we're likely going to be talking about. So then, based on these red or pink gradient blocks, I created some objectives for today. So our objectives for day 11 are: what are the self-organizing principles of the movement? How does this work with a group of people, balancing individuality and freedom to do what one wants? And then other thoughts I had were the idea of an ecosystem, the idea of enlightened communities, which I think would involve their core principles should embody values. These communities are driven by a purpose beyond just profit. Collaboration and sharing at their heart, encourage collaboration. Communities should welcome in all forms. And then I was thinking about developing a framework for this, which is to establish a clear, adaptable framework. The brain is self-learning. So then another thought is the brain is self-learning, which is what makes it so powerful. And and then how would money work in such a force? So, and then I had so I've thought about this idea before, and here's some of my past thinking I came up with. Would there be main principles? I guess so. Would there be something like the following? So striving for good in a very thoughtful way, such that it is truly good, encompasses basically everything. All we really want is a better world, something magical and amazing, and to work toward that in a truly great way as possible. The ability to organically change and morph such that the current state and method of being better itself becomes better. The ability for people to work together seamlessly to make advancements. The ability for the timeline of a better world to become incredibly fast due to the ecosystem allowing for this insanely productive system where everyone's individual efforts are compounding and compounding. It will be under the control of smart people with the ability for non-ideal aspects to be changed. Yeah, I think I said that before because, but I'm gonna put a question mark there. Who's is it going to be under anyone's control? So even this, with all of its detail, is still a little bit of a hard place to start, and it's such a hard topic in general. But let's explore some ideas, starting with what might be the principles of a self-organizing. And we kind of started that here. These would be the principles of creative problem solving, effective communication of the community. And these were principles of a leader for a self-organizing community. And I know I've thought about this before, but let's try to really break it down. So let's put this over here somewhere, and then put principles of a self-organizing community. Let's see. And that might be all we get to today, because it's a hard question. First of all, why do we have this intuition? Yeah, let's put this here somewhere. Okay, why Why this intuition? Well, it seems like many things. Oh, that's lovely. Here. Seems like many things in life that are self-organizing are the best of things. And this can be the brain, the biological, let's just outline this as biological, the brain, which is insanely cool. And yeah, most people would agree that it's like a self-organizing. Yeah, people would definitely agree with that. You can find that anywhere online, that the brain is basically a self-organizing system, self-learning system. Let me ask. What biological? Oh, there's like the flight of birds. There's ants working together. I'd say basically everything. Entire universe. It depends what you mean by a self-organizing system. But then you have like kind of a religion. So these would be broken up by societal structures, religion, and let me just ask the question. What are examples of self-organizing structures biologically and societal? And I will link that to here. Yeah, ant colonies, beehives. Flock of birds, human immune system, and slime molds, apparently. Now, societal, it says, yeah, we don't need to give GPT's full answer. Societal, open source communities, we have markets and economies. I guess markets and economies, but yeah, social movements. They're kind of by definition self-organizing. Wikipedia, urban neighborhoods, and emergent networks. Okay. Maybe we just need to make a simple definition for what is the simple definition of self-organizing. And let's see. So yeah, the intuition is that there are a lot of things which already seem to use this sort of system, and like they're fairly great things. self-organizing system. So this is from GPT 4.0. Self-organizing system is one where individual components or members coordinate and arrange themselves into a structured, functional, and often complex organization without external control or a central authority. So yeah, kind of by definition, you're not looking for leadership. This process is driven by local interactions, and simple rules, leading to the emergent behavior that benefits the system as a whole. I mean, you could say that current world, like current society is this, just not not very intentionally. And it's debatable, do humans need this sort of structure? I mean, there's so many, this is such a big idea, but yeah, we're just exploring it. So let's see, what does it say about social movements? Social movements, such as civil rights movements or environmental movements, often lack a central leadership. They are driven by the collective actions and coordination of individuals and groups. But then, wouldn't you get mob? Like, what are... So there's some benefits to self-organizing. And then there's the benefits, and then there's the risks, basically. Benefits would be, well, okay, risks, mob. Networks, grassroots efforts, social media. Okay, what are risks and benefits of self-organizing systems? And yeah, so it is overall an intuition. But it just seems so to make sense. If you can have a movement of people working towards changing the world, that most likely will be a movement of people that by themselves follow simple rules toward making the world a better place, and they're not governed by any individual thing. Each individual person has a lot of freedom, and yeah, okay, so benefits, according to GPT-4, are adaptability and flexibility, resilience and robustness. These make sense, obviously, because nothing can take it down, because by definition it gets around obstacles. Scalability, the whole world can be involved in, like, very quickly. Empowerment and engagement, it allows each individual person to contribute and each individual person to be engaged. Creativity and diversity. Now let's see how bad the risks are. Coordination challenge. How are you going to properly coordinate if you don't have central leadership? Maybe tech. Tech would help with that. Or coordination leaders. Maybe. Conflict and competition. And decision-making delays. Yeah, no central person or group of people are making decisions, so each individual person, it's like a huge democracy. Although I think there are solutions to that. Resource allocation issues. Scalability limits. All right, I need to talk through. Okay, so the coordination challenge. Without centralized control, effective communication can be difficult, leading to misunderstandings and inefficiencies. Ensuring that all members are working towards the same objective can be challenging. Okay, how would I assume I'm still trying to get to like what is the binding force. So let's just map this out here. The same goals. So this is like this is hard to get with. Yeah, I guess it depends how you look at it. Conflict and competition. Differences in opinions and approaches can lead to conflicts that are harder to resolve without a central authority. Emergent leaders or groups may compete for influence, disrupting the harmony of the system. Yeah, how would you, the same goals, the same primary goals versus diversity in secondary goals. I think that would allow for some measure of freedom. Power struggles. Yeah, that's very true. So decision-making, reaching consensus can be time-consuming, delaying important decisions, and decisions may vary widely depending on who is involved, leading to inconsistencies in outcomes. So I would say decision-making via a sort of AI-derived common primary goals analysis. Then, which can be very quick. And then, without a central authority to oversee resource distribution, resources may be allocated inefficiently. Different parts of the system may unknowingly duplicate efforts. Because of a lack of coordination, I think that's solved by everyone just being involved and talking. I think that's a risk, but ample communication, almost through, you could say, like a hive mind or something. But I think we already do a pretty decent job of this through social media, like instant communication and sharing, and AI overlooking the duplication of efforts. Accountability and responsibility. It can be difficult to hold individuals or groups accountable for their actions without a clear hierarchy. Responsibility for outcomes may be spread too thinly, leading to a lack of ownership and follow-through. So yeah, if responsibility And yeah, how are you going to hold people accountable? Okay, responsibility and accountability could be managed through advanced assignments where each individual person and group of people has a very specific thing that does actually benefit the whole. It's debatable, like, when we think about this, are we thinking this is like a whole life control thing, or is this like people are part of this to make the change, but then outside of this they do whatever they want? It's kind of the measure of how holistic you're being. Now, I'm interested what it says about scalability limits. As the system grows, managing complexity without centralized oversight may become increasingly difficult. I think it depends how you're even going to get this. Like, maybe what we need is to be, if it's AI managed, that kind of solves all of the risks. Then it's fine. And then you get outcomes like this. But if it's not AI managed, then you get what we've always had, kind of. Okay. Now, did we talk about... No, we didn't really get into what it is. We just said benefits, risks. Okay, so what actually... Okay, a self-organizing system is one where individual components... Okay, we might need to... The definition is good. I just think we might need to map out an example. And preferably one that I've been thinking about so that it's not just like a random example. So, yeah. Let's see. Example, we're trying to think through movement. So you would have... Is there a good way to outline a movement? Like, would you start with the people? I'm not sure. That's the nice thing about these, is this can just be flexible and not really make sense, but it helps you to... It's kind of like mind mapping, except with more flexibility. And so you can kind of just like create stuff and bring stuff to life that you have in your brain, but you're not quite sure how to express it. Yeah, and again, it's tough, but okay, what have I thought in the past? If we had... Okay, so yeah, we have the same goals, decision making derived by AI, ample communication. These are all aspects that would be true. Responsibility and accountability. We have okay, well, so let's ask I'm struggling a little bit to think through everything, so I'm going to ask for a quick example of a self-organizing community that, through their efforts, are able to maintain individuality, but also extreme coordination, such that they bring about the best world possible. So we'll see what we get out of that. Because it is hard to imagine exactly, because then as soon as you start thinking of anything, then you start thinking of all the examples of how that hasn't worked in the past, and like how that idea is probably flawed and all that stuff. Individual contributions. So yeah, you'd have every individual contributions. Which would mean almost sort of like open source, basically. Diverse skill sets and autonomy to work on what they want to work on. Extreme coordination, so you'd have lots of communication channels and tools. Shared goals, common vision. I don't know if this is going to be that hard or not to get a common vision. Probably harder than I think. Consensus building, which would be through AI. Quality assurance. Would you have any leadership? Or I guess you'd have to have some leadership, and it would just be distributed. It would be light and distributed. Helps everyone involved. Okay. Now, I'm pretty sure ChatGPT thought I was talking about an open source thing, but the concepts still apply. So there's a couple different thoughts, like how would this be started? How would this grow? Maybe I should do that. How would this be started? Now, curved, rounded, curved. It's weird. There we go. How would this start? This is a good question. Okay, so maybe if people form a charter or set of self-organizing principles, people learn about the idea and it gives them purpose and belonging to contribute. Okay, that's how it could get started. Because I would say we don't have this now. Most people are not coordinated. There's a lot of boundaries that we set up between countries. So this whole thing would be crosses all current borders. Like countries, ethnicities, wealth, fame, etc. Because when you're one of 8 billion, it seems like how can you possibly make a difference? But if you frame it a different way, you're one of 8 billion people that can work together to form a self-organizing movement that creates a better world. Then you're like, wow, this might actually be able to happen. So people get excited. They're like, yes, this might actually work. But then why would people actually contribute? So this would be volunteer efforts, volunteer out of goodwill and shared vision. A lot of times you get people that volunteer for something, they actually care about the thing and they actually work harder than if you're having to pay them to do it. So I think if it's, another thing would be if it's beneficial to be a part of the system for themselves and towards the movement. And you start to wonder if you're going to get people that want to join just because it benefits them or because they actually care. That's a question. But I think one of the self-organizing principles would be people that actually care. I think this is how you would fix this issue. And then, yeah, that connects to that. Okay. Why would people join? Because they're sick of human-made boundaries and are ready for a new world. One where we're not just competing in a market or fighting country to country. And yeah, some people might say, well, you need that stuff. That's how it's always been. Well, that doesn't mean it's the best way of doing it. If you really had people coordinated together trying to make a positive change, and the nice thing is, I feel like there's a decent percentage that would consider themselves, certain people that would join, like by default. there's more people that you'd have to persuade and probably help them learn more about it before they would join. But yeah, I think there would have to be some benefit regardless. There would have to be some sort of immediate benefit. There should be some immediate benefit. Now this could include belonging and purpose. What about, like people that are like, for people that aren't well off, like in third world countries, as well as people that are bored, like the rich, and retired, and maybe kids. As well as just people who want to make a difference. Yeah, that would be the immediate benefit. Some potentially other benefits I could think of would be within the system, money is not a worry. Sort of like when you create a co-op or whatever, you create like a little community in the desert, and you're like all self-sufficient and like stuff like that. Then you can kind of like get rid of money and just kind of do your part and whatever. I guess sort of like communism, but I hope that's not what this turns into. So this would allow people to escape the drudgery. Then we have other potential benefits might be like just living a really fulfilling life. Being around kind people. So this kind of living around, being around, money's not an issue. This all implies that there is a physical location. Pretty much. And once you start getting into physical location, you're basically just talking a country. Okay, we're going to create a country where people are better. This is sort of like Brian Johnson's wanting to create a don't die state or whatever. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't want to have to rely on that. Although it's true, like if you created your own little city or your own little seasteading place, you would be very happy, likely, if it all worked out and you had this own little community kind of separate from the rest of reality. But there should be benefits that come along without being separate. But yeah, you do kind of get this separation. don't you get this separation? People in the movement. People not in the movement. But do. Yes. Potentially. Okay, I'm just going to mark this as need to think about it. Because that is a good question. This implies a physical location. Also need to think about that. So that's reasonable why people would join. So that's how it would get started. Then how would it progress? I think be the next part. And this would be people live by the self-organizing principles by default. It's natural. Somehow things just exponentially improve. And this is just because, like, if you have people that actually care about other people, that their efforts can actually be useful. I mean, you can have a small group of people making vast changes, and as soon as, like, if you can just keep growing and, like, continually more and more people are joining your effort, are making a difference, then things can grow exponentially and positively. But yeah, progress, you need all of these other factors, I think. All right. We talked about a lot of these things. I guess still wondering about that question. Yeah, so this is kind of like how you would get started, how you would progress, and some of the facets about it. But we're definitely going to have to figure out sort of this one. What is the main vision? And how the leadership would work. And, like, how would people actually join? Like, in practicality. Okay. I think that's it. Today has been day 11, June 11, 2024. Just thinking through self-organizing principles. So, all right. Thank you so much.